Hey everyone, welcome to a Screenwriter's take on the last episode of Game of Thrones. Spoilers ahead, so let's break it down. The show is, because we're at the end of the entire series, the show's been great because there's just so many payoffs galore in this whole season. So the big payoffs tonight, of course, I think the biggest one is probably the Hound and the Mountain. That was the greatest payoff to me. We finally get to see the Mountain, what he really looks like, now that he's been, I guess, zombified, and him and his brother go down, and it's just great. Really, very small things to pick on this episode. Danny, of course, getting more paranoid is great. The whole thing with the bald advisor, I don't know if his plan was all that smart, just to sort of send out messages and let himself get killed. Yeah, I can kind of accept it. I mean, we're at the end of the series now, so, and he goes down kind of like you expect. You know, he's been doing all this court intrigue for a long time, and it finally catches up with him, and he finally dies. So. That payoff was fine. The payoff with Arya, which sort of was like a little bit of a red herring, because you thought maybe she was going to kill Cersei in the third act. It's a bit of a wind-up to have her go with the Hound, which was great. Sadly, you know, the episode itself had so much going on, we couldn't see any, like, you know, her and the Hound together again fighting or anything like that. So it just seems like Arya walks up to the doorstep and, you know, he convinces her to change her mind and turns around. But again, you know, that's what, to me, all the great payoffs were. I was glad to see Pirate King finally be killed. I didn't like him. I wanted to see him die. So the fight with Jaime was pretty good, pretty gritty, and you know, the fact that all these characters had plans to survive, I really enjoyed. I felt that worked. You know, first act he can't get through the castle. Second act he fights Pirate King, and third act tries to save Cersei, but they just finally die together. I thought that was pretty fitting. You know, that's the way the show started, and this is where it's ending. Although, really, that kind of makes next week's episode more of an epilogue, because we started with Jaime and Cersei, and now they're gone. So, really what we're seeing in the epilogue are, you know, the extra characters that sort of came in later. But that's fine. I'm cool with that. I'm pretty sure we're probably still going to see Sansa at the end. I don't know. I mean, maybe not, but I think we will. So it looks like it's going to be Grey Worm and Dany versus Davos, Tyrion, and Jon Snow. And of course, I think it's going to be... I think Arya might kill Dany, depending on the color of her eyes, which I thought were blue. So maybe she kills the dragon. I don't know. I kind of want to see Jon Snow kill the dragon. That's just me. But it could be that Arya uses her super face powers to get near the dragon and trick it and then kill it. Could be that. My predictions have been wrong on this show, so don't go by my predictions. I really don't want to make any more, but I'm excited about the last episode. You know, with all these payoffs, I want to see... Man, I hope they give us an epilogue. If I don't get an epilogue, here's what I want in the last episode. I want an epilogue, you know, what happens to everybody and who survives. And I want Jon Snow to kill a dragon. I want somebody to kill a damn dragon in this thing, but not, you know, not like Pirate King. That dragon slaying doesn't count for me. I want to see a big epic dragon fight, you know, with a guy with a sword killing a dragon. That to me is fantasy. So And I think the third act payoff, Jamie and Cersei, the Hound and the Mountain, were all great. Arya running around the city, yeah, that it's good setup for next week. And Jon finally getting on board. So he's always the last guy to get on the train, Jon Snow, despite the fact he's always so, pure and good. It always seems like, man, it takes a while for Jon to get on the train, and it's like, Jon, we have to do this. You're gonna have to kill Dany. So I kind of thought for a while, a couple episodes back, Jaime Lannister would end up killing Dany because it would be the kind of thing like, he keeps killing Targaryens, since he killed the last one. But that was a fitting ending. Wondering what's going to happen to Tyrion at the end. I think probably next week's going to be about, him and betraying Dany and Dany getting all paranoid because they're not going to be able to find Jaime and Cersei. They're going to assume they escaped, and and she'll just go crazy paranoid. My only other minor criticism of the show is Dany, although she was sort of crazy angry, didn't really see something that set her off. You know what I mean? I mean, a lot of it was from last week, and certainly Grey Worm, him being a soldier and now he has nothing, kind of, his girlfriend's dead. Him going off, that to me made sense. Dany kind of, had that moment and she makes her choice. So a lot of you Team Dany people, if you're whining about Dany being evil, all the signs were there. She's always been sort of on the border, and she made her choice. I mean, that shows that even though she's a bad person now, she was an empowered woman. So empowered women make their own choices, good or bad. And this one made a bad choice, and the Targaryens are supposedly mad. They go mad with power. And it's going to be interesting to see if Jon Snow survives or not. I kind of think Jon Snow either kills himself to end the Targaryen bloodline, or sacrifices himself, maybe kind of on purpose, to do that and kill the dragon or whomever. Because once the Targaryens are all dead, then you don't have these mad kings who could control dragons. Assuming that Jon could do that. I mean, he is a Targaryen. I guess he'd be fireproof too, which goes back to the zombie episode where Jon's fighting the undead dragon. He was about to get, roasted by the undead dragon, but then he didn't, because the Night King dies and then they all die. So I think perhaps that was on purpose to kind of like put Jon in that danger, to make you forget that, oh yeah, he's a Targaryen, he's immune to fire for some reason, because they're, I don't know, dragon masters or whatever. But either way, I would say that dragon's dead. Dany's, I mean, the only other possible outcome would be that Dany would win, which would be very dark and cool. But I don't think the Game of Thrones people are going for that, and I think it would disappoint a lot of fans to see Jon die in a futile attempt to make the world a better place. I mean, nobody, I would kind of think that that would go more along with the dark world of Game of Thrones, but if you really were going to go dark, I would let Cersei win, but that was just my take on it. I think we all know it's probably going to be Jon Snow at the end. He's at least going to win if he doesn't even survive. So, fun stuff. And I think, at this point, the producers should be, they did okay. The complaints, I get them. I think the strategy this week was really solid, with the dragon flying out of the sun, then the dragon flying too low, and the crossbows have to keep adjusting, and then they all fire, and then they're slow to reload. I mean, that was all consistent. It was way better than the zombie fight, which really could have been 2 episodes. I think all jamming all this stuff in helped the show pick up the pace, but at the same time, I could have done without some of the middle episodes in like seasons, say 5 through 7. I could have picked out the worst episodes and maybe stretched this out a bit. Gotten some good zombie fights in previous season, maybe extended it to this season. Maybe even started the zombie fight as the season finale last season, and then started this season with a second episode of zombie fight. I think that could have gone on easily 2 episodes. The Dothraki and the Unsullied seem to have spawned thousands of new members, which, where'd they all come from? But, at this point, you just, unfortunately, I don't think they had the time to get into how they survived or who survived or if there was other guys and they got reinforcements or whatever. I mean, I think it would have been pretty easy to mention some kind of throwaway line, like part of her forces were trapped in this area or waited in this area or whatever. But they didn't do that. So, I mean, really, I can forgive that show. It's pretty epic at this point. And we're just going to see who sits on the Iron Throne, and then it's going to be over. I don't know what we're going to watch then. I guess I have to go back to trying to find some good cartoons on Adult Swim or something. So anyhow, that's Game of Thrones. That's my screenwriter's take. Hope you enjoy it. I hope you're enjoying Game of Thrones. Please don't go on the internet and complain about it. No one cares. And check me out on Patreon. I'm trying to get my Subscribe Star thing up and running. I got to figure out how that works. You can check out my comics at the Web Comic Factory and at Superfrat. We'll see you next